Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now we're up to part 2 of our series on the XY era. Now this is such an interesting era because it seems to break a lot of rules, so to speak, or trends, which I'm going to explore in this video. But if you watch part 1, you'll notice that I went over some old school Tarzos, Looney Tunes and Space Jam. And I did mention I collected a lot of Dragon Ball Z Tarzos in the back in the day, and also made the joke that, man, I must have consumed a lot of chips, as did probably a lot of you guys that used to collect Tarzos and whatnot. But who remembers these? Give us a thumbs up or a quick like before we get on the main topic. Who remembers these? The old Dragon Ball Z disc. I think there was sort of some yellow ones, which was sort of your base rarity. Then there was some fluoro ones like this one, and then I think you even got like some hollow or gold sort of ones. And geez, God knows how I kept this sealed. But this is what they used to come like in the packets of chips. Little, I suppose, Gohan chilling there. So anyway, who remembers those? Give us a thumbs up or comment if you do. Anyway, XY. Like I was saying, it breaks a lot of rules and trends. And if you watch the first part, we went over the first 6 main sets, but I also glossed over one that sits in between them, which is Double Crosses. So I just wanted to give it a quick little shout out. I know it's not a main set, but it was this quirky little subset during the XY era. It only come with blisters, specialty blister packs. They're really cool. It's sort of that Team Aqua versus Team Magma vibe. And it actually has 2 of my favorite cards throughout the whole XY era sitting inside it, which was this one here, Team Aqua Kyogre, and this one here, Team Magma's Groudon. To make it even a little bit more quirky, there was reverse hollows inside there as well. So it sort of made what was a really small set, or subset I should say almost, is, you know, something quite quirky to collect. So, and hey, those blisters go for pretty big dollars these days. And those 2 cards, the Team Aqua's Kyogre and Team Magma's Groudon are both really, really nice looking cards. Anyway, moving on, part 2. Where did we get up to? We left with Roaring Skies, so that must leave us on XY Ancient Origins. Now, what you would have noticed, a trend that happened during the first part of XY era is quite often, and this is what astounds me, right? Like, you could collect a full master set, for argument's sake, of XY base set. Now, a booster box from memory is going for somewhere around $1,750 US. You could collect the whole master set and it's still not going to be worth the price of the sealed product, which is that sealed booster box. And take, like, you know, one of the other elite trainer boxes, say Phantom Forces, which is a super rare elite trainer box with the ever popular Gengar Pokemon on the front. Like, I know you hardly get any packs inside there, but you could literally almost pull a master set of Phantom Forces and you're probably only going to be a smidgen dearer than what the Elite Trainer Box price is. Like, it's crazy what some of the sealed products do. And it does come down solely to that supply and demand, as in, you know, if there's just such low supply on something, but, you know, there's future demand for it and there's this rarity and this want for it, it just drives prices north. And it's a really interesting philosophy, because one thing we get really sort of focused on in modern is just, you know, how strong the hits are. And you forget that, you know, if something's not printed much, it just adds huge amounts of value. Now, the other interesting trend, and I'll bring that up in a second, is just what's happening with the price on XY sealed. It's all very, very stabilized. And I wanted to start off here with Ancient Origins, the booster box being, what, $1,030.35? And look at the graph on it. Like, I know it's gone up a smidgen, but you'll notice a trend throughout most of XY over the last 12 months that sealed pricing has remained pretty stable. And that, you know, it brings about the question, it had this rapid appreciation during, and I hate using the term all the time because I'm over it, I have to say it every day in car sales, like, we're so COVID affected. You know, there's huge supply chain issues because of COVID and your car's delayed. Oh man, if I had $1 for every time I said that, I'd be a very wealthy man. But, you know, it's true. During COVID, obviously, you know, collectibles just went north in price quickly. And, you know, we've seen this real stagnant sort of period for XY since then. So, is there any more room for growth in sets that have arguably really, really weak chase cards? Now, I'm not saying Ancient Origins has a really weak chase card, because it actually has a really nice chase card, which is the Mega Rayquaza EX here. I'm going for $169. And the Primal Groudon, which also is a pretty nice looking card, for $67.89. And clipping at its heels is the Primal Kyogre. What else was there? Of course, the ETB. Yeah, Ancient Origins had an ETB, which is a belting looking ETB, and also quite rare. Currently going for $949.99. What's next? Breakthrough, isn't it? Yeah, XY Breakthrough. Booster box, $646.80. Also, pretty damn stagnant over the last 12 months. Next one, the ETB. $337 for the ETB. And again, the chase cards inside this set are just nothing to write home about. What have we got? Nothing to write home about in price, but they're almost the start of that alternate art sort of artwork that Pokemon brought out, and I really like the look of these two cards. Two Mewtwo EXs, one going for $58.34, the other one going for $56.80. Both brilliant, stunning looking cards in my opinion, both secret rares. But look at the prices of them. It just, you know what I mean? Like, same thing. Like, you could open a booster box, pull both Mewtwo EX secret rares, which the odds of that are next to impossible, and some other great chase cards from the set, and you're still not even close to the price of the sealed product. It's just such an interesting phenomenon during the XY era. After Breakpoint, we had one hell of a set, which is the 20th anniversary, and I know this is just a subset, or I should say holiday set, not subset, Generations. Now, I'll tell you one thing. I opened a lot of Generations, and you know what? I wish I didn't. And this was the frustrating thing about XY for me, is I opened a lot of it, but I never got heaps of joy out of XY era. And I've said it a few times that it's not my favourite era. It's weak to middle at best, in my opinion. Now, having said that, there's a lot of sweet Japanese promos, like that Charizard. Obviously, we had like the Mario Pikachu and all that. Like, it's just, there was some sweet promos for the XY era. So I'm not completely rubbishing it. I'm just saying it wasn't my favourite. And I made that clear in the first part of this XY video as well. But Generations, I'll tell you one thing. When I used to open Generations, though, man, the singles were cheap. Like, they were dirt cheap. Like, good hit rates. Like, you seem to pull a fair bit. That Radiant collection seemed to be pretty easy to pull. Just so you know, though, a Generations ETB currently going for $673.99. Same thing, though. Like, it's remained so stagnant over the last almost 2 years. Like, it begs the question again, which I brought up about 3 minutes ago, is there any more room for growth? I think the short answer is yes, but it's been stagnant for 2 or so years now, and what's going to cause the next uptick for something like a 20th anniversary Generations ETB? Because I can tell you now, they're not getting opened at a rapid rate. There is a fair few stored away. Like, it was popular, and it's a popular sealed product. It's a popular collectible product to have in your sealed sort of ETB collection. So how many more are going to get open? Is demand ever going to sort of increase for a Generations ETB again? Who knows? Maybe at the 30th anniversary, maybe in 2 years, like maybe in 1.5 years' time. Like, we don't really know. But my point is, is this ever going to be a $3,000 ETB? Is it worth investing in? Is any XY sealed product worth investing in? And they're sort of tough questions to answer, because, like I was saying before, it's seen so much appreciation during COVID times that it sort of begs the question: how many? What legs does it have left? I think something like some of the rarer ETBs are probably good collectibles from the XY era. And I'm getting off topic here from Generations because I'm going down a little bit of a sidetrack. I'm just mulling over thoughts inside my head, and but what else? Flashfire booster box, yeah, I think that's got some more room for appreciation. Steam Siege booster box I'll get to that in a second, but they're going for nearly $400 US now. Does that have any more room for appreciation? We'll get to that in a second, but generations. So Mega Charizard EX is the main chase card from this set at $61.03. And one of the Radiant Collection cards, which is such a good looking card, is that Flareon EX at $39.80. What came out next? Fates Collide, didn't it? XY Fates Collide. Booster box still at a pretty reasonable price, $426.99. And the ETB at $283.88. You know, there's not much discrepancy here between ETB price and booster box price. And if you watch part one, quite often you'd see the booster boxes like, something like Phantom Forces, or in particular, not Ancient Origins. I'll bring it up on the screen here. My memory escapes me. I'm doing this in one take, so forgive me. But, the booster box, Primal Clash. Yeah, got it. Finally came to me, Primal Clash. The ETBs are just worth so much more than the booster box in that set. Like, it's just phenomenal. And we see it with like Fates Collide here. The ETB, which has not even a quarter of the packs of what the booster box has, and it's nearly the same sealed price. What's the top hit in this set? Alakazam, Secret Rare, $45.46. Umbreon, quite a nice looking card, just in a regular EX though, at $37.59. These hits they don't hold that price, do they? I mean, is an Umbreon VMAX still going to be a $500 US card in 5 years' time? Possibly, maybe more. But these hits from XY, they just don't have any strength. And the other thing about Fates Collide is this was one that was getting close to the release of Steam Siege, which is our next set. Steam Siege was the first set to be launched straight after the Pokemon Go phase, and they did backpedal back a fair bit and reprint some of the previous sets all the way back to Roaring Skies, which got a pretty hefty reprint because of just the demand for Pokemon cards. And Fates Collide is another one. And that, when we talk supply demand, you can see quite clearly with something like Fates Collide, which isn't too bad a set, mind you, but the booster box price at $426, it's just lacking a little bit there compared to, say, some of the earlier XY sets that didn't cop the reprints, that didn't have the amount of supply hit the market. So, Steam Siege. Oh man, this cops some heat. This cops some heat as one of the worst Pokemon card sets ever made. Now, I would argue there's a couple of worse ones in Sun and Moon era, but this is going to go down as a doozy, isn't it? But interestingly, before I even bring up the booster box price, is this, the ETB price. Man, like for one of the worst sets ever made, with the cheapest chase cards sitting inside it, it's crazy to think that the ETB is pulling these kind of numbers. Now, it's not, I can't find it on TCG Player, but if you go to eBay, you can see a lot of best offer accepted from listings that are somewhere around $1,000 US or 750. Like, so what's it worth? US dollars? I don't know, $500 for an ETB. Like, that's pulling huge dollars for what it is and what you could possibly pull out of it. So it shows once again that the sealed product is trumping the cards that you can pull inside it. Now, the booster box, on the other hand, still $360 US, so pushing that $400 US envelope for a Steam Siege booster box, which was printed quite heavily, mind you, very heavily. In fact, demand certainly didn't outweigh supply on this set. This was one that sat around for a long time. It wasn't all that popular. It was getting bought because of that Pokemon Go craze, but just, it wasn't anything special, this set, so it sat around a fair bit. Best chase card, the Gardevoir, the Secret Rare, $45.46. Not the worst looking card. It's actually not a bad looking card at all. And then the Volcanion, the other Secret Rare inside this set, only $14.03. So, what does that lead us to? The final frontier for XY, which was obviously one hell of a throwback to base set, which was Evolutions. Now, as I was saying before, I'm really, really disappointed that I didn't keep more XY products sealed. I sort of thought that when I was opening them that, especially in the latter half, that these are just so mass printed investment wasn't really on my mind. I was more still just opening them and selling some cards on eBay and having some fun with it and, collecting them a bit more. And I also thought, yeah, like the amount they've been printed and, some of the quality of them, that I couldn't see it really going up in price. So I didn't hold it as an investment. And hey, how we get it wrong. Even 3 years ago on a local Facebook marketplace, I saw an XY Evolutions booster box pop up for 390 Australian dollars, which is what, 240 US. And I just thought, nah, too dear, too dear. That has shot up in price right at the start of COVID so much that it's too dear. Like, I think it's overpriced. It's stuck in that bull market. Not worth it. Didn't buy it. And hey, look, it's over 1,000 Australian dollars a booster box now, well over. It's sitting at $801.59. I did, however, keep one sealed product. And this was bought way back when it first came out. I did keep the Charizard ETB, I just thought that was a cool product. I wanted to start off the collection with that, so I did keep that. What are they going for now? $231.90, I think, US. And then the Blastoise ETB a little bit less, $192.77. The top two chase cards, look, of course, it's the holographic Charizard is the #1 chase card, but given how much this set was printed, like, again, spurred on very, very strongly by the Pokemon Go phase, like hugely spurred on by the Pokemon Go phase, an incredible amount of stock printed of this set. An unbelievable, like the most printed set to date other than maybe base set when this came out. Perhaps there's been some modern sets that have been printed a little bit more than this now, maybe something like a Hidden Fates or a Vivid Voltage. Don't know, but all we do know is this was printed like crazy. And Mega Charizard EX being the second most desirable, expensive chase card from the set at $36.63. So, I guess to summarize, now that we've completed part 2 and we've looked all through the main sets, we've looked through something like Double Crisis and also that Generations Holiday set or 20th Anniversary set, what can we conclude from the whole XY era? Well, I can conclude personally that I should have kept more of it sealed and not just opened it. And then again, though, I wouldn't have had the experiences and the fun of opening it and selling it on eBay. But, I guess it shows so strongly that what role supply has, first and foremost, it certainly shows that. Because it can be a lackluster set with really poor chase cards, but if it wasn't printed heavily, take Rebel Clash from Sword and Shield. Take Sword and Shield base set in comparison to the rest of the Sword and Shield era. Those have gone arguably crazy compared to a lot of the other booster boxes in the set just because of how small the supply was in comparison to the rest of Sword and Shield. Not small overall, but in comparison to the rest of Sword and Shield. So I guess that's the first main takeaway we can get is supply versus demand. If demand is strongly outweighing supply for a set, then no matter how maybe lackluster it could be, it's going to mean good things for its future. And I think the second main takeaway that we can take from the whole XY era is Father Time. Father Time can add huge amounts of money to a sealed product, like even if it has been printed to oblivion, like XY Evolutions. Take it, if you haven't watched it, watch Rudy from Alpha Investments, his video on that XY Evolutions, all the cases that he sat in his bathroom and just held. Father Time does miraculous things, and all of a sudden, what people couldn't wholesale below recommended retail price because of the level of supply and lack of demand and wanting to move on to next sets and Sun and Moon era, what couldn't be moved at a wholesale price is now worth $800 US a booster box. So for me, they are the two main takeaways from the whole XY era. Time and that low supply will just push things north in price. I'm Michael. This is Pokey Oz. Thanks again for watching, everyone. Catch you next time.